Hello, today we have Emma Baker with us, who's a first-year medical student at the University of Bristol. Hello, Emma.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for being here today. So, Emma, can you just tell us, what have you been up to before medicine?
Well, yeah, thanks for having me, firstly. So I did a natural sciences degree at Exeter for 3 years, and I graduated from there in the summer of 2019. And kind of, doing medicine was always in the back of my mind, but I wasn't really sure. And then, so after I graduated, I got a job as a healthcare assistant for the year. Which I really enjoyed. Like, I'd recommend it to anyone, to be honest, whether or not you're interested in medicine. If you're just looking for a bit of part-time work, it's so good, so fulfilling, and it's quite a nice way to spend your time. And then did that for about a year, just under a year, and now here I am.
Yeah, exciting. So had you thought about applying to medicine before you'd completed your first degree, or did the thoughts kind of develop once you'd finished?
So, like, I guess there was never really like a big oh, this is really what I want to do. I kind of thought about it, like, especially the first time around applying to uni, when I went to like open days and stuff. I was going to the medicine talks. I was really considering it, but just, I don't know what really put me off. It's like a combination of small things, and when I say them now, they seem so small, but like back then I feel like it mattered a lot. It was like, it always seemed to be on kind of a different campus, and you'd be like really separated from the rest of the uni. And I just didn't have the confidence in myself. I think I really thought I wouldn't get in, and I didn't want to apply and not get in. So yeah, I did natural sciences and I loved it. Like, it was a perfect degree for me at the time. I found it so interesting. It was pretty much doing like triple science, but at degree level. And yeah, so when I was there, I between my first year and second year, and then between my second and third year, I did a couple of internships in one in like consultancy and one in like banking. And I was kind of just like following the, like, you know, everyone's doing that, and I just felt like, oh, maybe that'll be fun. And I just kind of, especially in the one after between my second and third years, it hit me. I was like, oh my god, like, I do not want to be doing this. Like, fair enough to people that do, like, it is interesting. I can see how you would think it's interesting. Like, I'm not like dissing the whole profession, but just for me, it was like too much sat down. Kind of, I'm gonna be like, I think I don't know. I think being a doctor, like, you're moving around a lot. I don't know why.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, and then I just kind of was like, maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll try it. And I'm really lucky. I've got a couple of friends whose parents are doctors, and one of them I just went and spent the week shadowing her and some of her colleagues. And I was like, yes, this is for me. And then I kind of looked into it, and I've got a couple of friends who are the year above who've done a similar thing, and they also did HCA work for a year, and they really recommended it. So yeah, that was kind of like the decision making process behind it.
Yeah, so it sounds like there was a few steps that built up that led you towards the decision. For the HCA role, did you work in a particular department at all, or were you like bank across the hospital?
So my job was, I was attached to one ward. It was kind of the general acute medical ward, so it was lots of elderly care, lots and lots of elderly care, which I was quite nervous about because, like, I've not spent much time around elderly people, so I was a bit like, how I do say silly, like, how will I speak to them? It's like, you speak to them like you speak to everyone else. And I just like there's quite a few patients that are just like stuck in my mind, and I just like, because you're there and you're like, you have your bay of kind of 6 or 7 patients for the day, for like 12-hour shift. And some weeks you'd be doing like 4 shifts, and especially when like lockdown started, I was doing extra shifts because like there was nothing else
Yeah.
to do. And you just like, you see them every day, like you spend kind of more time with them than you spend with your family, so you just get to know the patients so well, like have a little chit chat, make sure they're all right. And like it's quite nice, you see some of them come into hospital and they're like really worried about what's going on, and like I think just being able to reassure them, yeah, it's great. I'd like,
Yeah.
honestly, I really recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because I've done a few HCA shifts again over like last lockdown, and I think, yeah, you get that nervousness. You're like, am I going to be able to be good at this job? But a lot of it is just being a human person to them, you know, and just talking and spending the time, and like you said, reassuring. And you know, as a medical student or going in as a HCA, you're not necessarily going to know much about their condition or their treatment, or you know, you're not there to offer technical advice, but you're just there to be an ear and to chat. And I think those are skills which, you know, are really valuable going forward. And you underestimate perhaps how, you know, that you actually, you can do that, you know, you can do that role.
Yeah, I mean, like we've had lots of lectures, especially well, yeah, just all throughout this year on like patient perspectives and stuff, and like I get, it's quite nice, like I don't want to come across like I know it all, but like I've kind of experienced and like been with patients, for example, when like a doctor might not have quite explained why they're in hospital, really, like if they were admitted at 2 o'clock in the morning and they were tired and confused and hungry, and they're kind of asking me like, oh, like why am I here, like why am I going for this x-ray, it's kind of like there's lots of attributes that I kind of maybe could want to bring forward to my practice in the future. Yeah, and just like it's even a chance to kind of sneakily observe doctors, like you can, because obviously like in the ward is not the best situation, but for most consultations they just shut the curtains and it's not like a wall, like you can hear what's going on. So if I was just like doing bits and bobs, I'd just be able to like listen in and try and think what sounds good about this or what sounds bad about this. Yeah, I guess the downside is that I had like absolutely no technical knowledge at all. You definitely do pick up like bits and bobs, but yeah, like it's quite, I'm looking forward to knowing what's going on. I'm quite excited by that. I'm quite nosy, and like if it was a night shift and like I'd be like reading like we have a handover sheet, I'd be like really reading it and like, oh, I want to know what this is.
Yeah, I'd make notes, and all the abbreviations, I'd always be like, oh, what does that mean? What does that mean? And it actually did come up in one of our exams. It was talking about the news score, and I was like, I've done these. I've done these. So actually, you know, even quite early on, it's it's you know, those experiences, because I think it makes so much more sense as well when you've physically done it rather than read about it, or so yeah, I think it's really helpful. So comparing your sorry, carry on.
Oh, don't, I'm just gonna like take a really specific example. You go.
I was thinking about your kind of your shadowing versus your HCA experience, like leading up to medicine, like contrasting the kind of, I suppose, the different perspectives. So what you learn from shadowing versus, you know, we've talked quite a lot about what you've learned as a HCA, but yeah, just thinking about how those two experiences compared into your, you know, like thinking about going into medicine.
I definitely say I learned a vast amount more from being a HCA, but I spent like a year doing that, and I spent a week shadowing. So there's that, but I think they're very like, they're so different, and like I think a lot of people, and like it's kind of one thing that put me off originally was, how am I going to get all this experience? Like I need to volunteer, I need to shadow, I need to be doing there's something like around where I live called like Bright Medics or something like that, and I was like, I should have been doing all of this for years and years. But I think that stuff isn't actually as crucial as like just the people skills, like being able to talk to someone. It was interesting, like shadowing. I was very lucky, I got to shadow she's a ENT surgeon, So I got to see her do some surgeries, and it was like pretty cool, like what she was doing, and she's just kind of in the forefront of this. I can't remember all the thing is, though, because it's all words. I can't remember the words. And I was like really interested in it. I'd love to be able to speak about it better. I should really look into it. But so it was kind of, I got to see more of like the life cycle of a patient. So I kind of followed the same patient all the way through from like his kind of emergency admission, I guess, into his surgery later. And I think one of the things that really during this shadowing that I was really lucky to experience and really kind of affirmed to me that this is something that I could really want to do. I spent, I don't know, the afternoon or something with 2 junior doctors. I think one was an F1 and one was an SHO maybe. And it was just like speaking to them and like realizing that these like normal people too, like they're really good at their job, they clearly enjoy what they're doing, and like seeing like they were working together and seeing like because I think lots of people maybe don't see being a doctor, you just kind of think of it as like being in a room by yourself all day seeing patients. I think people forget that it's actually a lot of teamwork. And I mean, I guess contrasting during the shadowing, I didn't get to see so much of like the general team in terms of the nurses and HCAs and radiologists and everyone else that makes up the hospital staff, which is definitely something that I kind of saw every day working as a HCA. They're just really different experiences, but I mean, if you can get shadowing, then you're really, really, really lucky, I think.
It's always interesting to hear the kind of I suppose contrasting perspectives, because I've spoken about before about usually when you going for shadowing, people want to show you exciting things, and and that's great and that's really exciting, but it's not always representative of showing off like the teamwork and showing off the different team, and that you're working with lots of different people and the life cycle of the patient and all those sorts of things. So I think it's an important thing to value those kind of things you've picked up along the way. But and also throw in a few cool surgeries and so when it came round to you then applying, how did you go? What was kind of your decisions around where you were applying?
I actually applied twice. So I applied first time round during my 3rd year. Because it was all a bit like I did this shadowing kind of right at the end of the summer holidays. There was about like 3 weeks for me to get my application together. I'm not the most organized of people either, so I've got a sneaky feeling I like might have not put that I was doing a degree on the application form or something. I might have done something really silly, so advice to anyone listening, just like triple check it. Even though I don't know. And I applied because I don't know, you don't tuition fee support if medicine is your second degree. However, graduate entry, the tuition fees are kind of much lower. It's much more doable. So I applied to 4 grad med courses first time round, just because I've kind of felt like, if I don't get in this first time, it doesn't actually matter, because I'm going to go and get some more experience. Just kind of was just a decision to like kind of fire off an application, see what happens, see where it goes. And I've got no regrets about doing that, even though it was kind of a bit disheartening to not get in. It was a really good kind of opportunity to sit the UK CAT, kind of like get that, see the UK CAT and be that kind of seem like this mystical almost, don't they? And it's kind of nice to just like bring that down to earth and be like, right, done it once, I'm going to do it again. Writing a personal statement, like it's hard to kind of sell yourself. Kind of not skills that you use very often, writing that kind of thing. Didn't get the offers through, but at the end of my 3rd year, I was just like fired off some applications to get a HCA job at home. And then it was August and September, and I was kind of like the application process took it a lot more seriously, I think, this time. I actually got the exact same score both times on the
No way.
app, So maybe that does show that it's kind of, you can't revise for it, even though I spent hours revising for it.
Yeah.
It just started the second time round to not improve, but oh well. Yeah. I've lost my train of thought completely.
So on that second cycle
and
of
then
application,
the second time I applied to 2 grad med and 2 undergrad. I applied to Bristol and Manchester for undergrad, and oh my god, Kings and Barts for grad, because it was a bit random. Like, I really wanted to be in London, and I was like, I can't afford to be in London for and do a undergrad course. I'll just do these 2 grad applications, see what happens, and then pick 2 other unis I'd quite like to go to somewhere else in the country. And then I got rejected from the grad one, so it does show it's really hard. And I think it's sad because it puts such a barrier. Like, I'm so fortunate for my parents to be able to help me out with this. Like, I will hopefully be able to pay them back one day. I might have to become some kind of plastic surgeon or something, but we'll see. But yeah, I think that the kind of tuition fee thing does really put a barrier to some people. I've met a few people through doing HCA. It's surprising how many people do HCA applying for grad medicine, and they're kind of like, I can really only go for graduate courses. So
yeah, it is definitely challenging. And I think it's also quite unclear, because I didn't realise at first that you could get a maintenance loan but not a tuition fee loan. So at first I thought there was no financial support at all. And then there were some bursaries which I thought I was eligible for because I had a low income, but they're not actually eligible for people for a second degree. So it is confusing. And I think a lot of mature students then work quite a lot throughout their degree to try and balance it out. So yeah, there's definitely challenges, and there's just not a huge amount of places on grad courses either. So the competition is really tough, really tough.
I mean, it's fierce. Like, I remember another thing that kind of whittled down the grad place I was going to apply to. I was like, I looked at all the you've got the GAMSAT, the BMAT, and the UK CAT, and I was like, right, the GAMSAT. I think I downloaded a GAMSAT paper and I read it, and I might be wrong, but I think it might be like kind of like a 6-hour exam.
It's huge. Yeah, it's big.
And I was like, oh my god, like, just put me off.
And that's expensive as well. That costs $300 to sit, I think, as well.
And then I was just kind of like, I feel like I'm a bit more suited to the UK CAT, play to my strengths a bit more. I think that in the BMAT you might have had to write an essay, and that's
a mix.
Just something that I kind of didn't back myself on, and I was like, I really want to do this. I'm just going to my strengths, do the UK CAT, and if that narrows down where I can apply, I wanted to be in London because the really big kind of cons for me for doing grad med was so I've gone on such a tangent here.
No, it's fine,
I've got to rambling. One of the big cons, I'll carry on. One of the big cons was obviously all my friends from university graduating, moving to London, my boyfriend's there. It feels like this massive exodus to London, and it's very much like, oh my god, I'm not going to be there, like coupled with the like financial pressures of like, right, I'm only going to have a part-time job, all of that. That was one of the big cons for me that I really I did consider quite seriously, but I was just kind of like, it is worth it for me in the end. So that was why so the UK CAT was kind of narrowed down where I was going to apply, and then coupled with like the London thing, that was where I applied for those London ones.
Because there's quite a lot of things to consider, and you're working full time. You've got to think about entrance exams, where you're going to apply, studying for them. So it's not like you have all the time and especially if when you applied during your final year at uni, you've got that to contend with. When people come from school, they're often doing their A levels, so it's there's a lot to think about when you're doing an application. So and how was your confidence levels going into this second application? So you said at the first one, you're thinking about medicine, but there was potentially lack of confidence there. Has that grown, do you think?
That's a really interesting question. I think in general it has. There were definitely moments like, especially when I was waiting, I'd got my interviews and I'd had my interviews and I was waiting to hear back. That was like a proper low time. Like I was like, oh, not like just like in my terms of my confidence of is this going to happen? I was kind of like seriously looking at grad jobs and things at that point. Yeah, definitely. It was definitely kind of like up and down, but up, and like now I'm here. It's never like, you're like, even though I'm kind of, my peers are quite a few years younger than me, they're all so intelligent, and sometimes I'm like, wow, thank God I wasn't doing this when I was 18, because I would have not kept up at all. Yeah, definitely up and down. Specifically after the first time I applied, I think I can't remember exactly. I feel like I was almost expecting it. The rejections come in dribs and drabs. With one of them, I was holding out till like maybe March or something, still thinking like, oh, maybe. But it's just the way that it is. And by the time I'd kind of got all the rejections, I was working for HCA. I was really enjoying that. And I was almost at that point looking ahead to the next time, and just focusing on that. And I was kind of like, gave myself two rounds of applications, and I was like, if I don't get it the second time, maybe it's time to think about something else and kind of start living a life. Yeah, I'll start trying to be a grown-up, which now I've put off for another 5 years. Happy.
So we've touched a little bit on the actual course itself, but how have you found it, I suppose, especially starting under these conditions?
The course is like dense. There's so much content all the time. Like it's like non-stop, which is good. Definitely. I find, me personally, online uni isn't for me. I'm quite like I would quite like to, especially at Exeter, I'd go to my lectures, I'd go to the library, and then I'd go to my other lectures. I wouldn't kind of, because even then you could watch them at home if you wanted to. I would usually choose to do that. I think sometimes in a way it's hard. People are like, oh, you've had your first year experience before, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, but I know what it's meant to be like. I know what it should be like, and I know what like going to lectures and everything is like. I know like about like, I know how to like make friends on the course when I'm just sitting next to someone in the lecture in the first week or something. But now it's like completely flipped on its head. But the course is really good. Like you can tell they're working so hard to get us the clinical contact that we are, even if it's online. And it's kind of like these patients who are just letting us, because if you're a medical student and you're there at the time, I feel like it would feel a bit more natural, but they're kind of ringing up the doctor specifically to speak to us. So it's quite nice to see that people would spend their time helping us when they don't really need to. And that's kind of the clinical contact bit is definitely makes you get, especially when it's all online, for me anyway, really helps me to, I don't want to say it's like the light at the end of the week, but it's like a kind of a bit, it's something to look forward to. So, it's good.
I suppose especially when you've had a very patient-centric job, as a HCA, you know what it's like to interact with patients, and again, like you're saying, you knew what uni was like. You have experiences to compare it with, so I suppose the gap between virtual and online is very apparent.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I can't complain too much because I've got 5 years. I'm going to have 4 years of it, probably, hopefully, being normal. Or how it was before-ish. So, yeah.
Yeah, normality is in sight. Yeah. And as like alongside the course, are there any extracurriculars that I suppose it's difficult to pick up many new things now, but is there anything you used to do that you're interested in carrying on, or outside of the course, what you get up to?
Yeah, so I'm quite sporty.
Mm-hmm.
When I was at uni at Exeter, I was in part of the sailing team.
Nice.
And we were quite successful,
Mm-hmm.
which was a really nice kind of way. We were very successful in my final year,
Mm-hmm.
and it was quite a nice way to kind of finish uni and like close it off, and quite a nice thing to look back on. And then I played a lot of netball, and I kind of, at Exeter, we're like at any uni, you can really only do one seriously, and I just kind of massively couldn't decide which one to do, and I picked sailing. So I was really looking forward to going to Bristol and taking netball and trying to do a bit of maybe but I could during, especially like first and second year. Obviously this year that hasn't been able to happen, but fingers crossed for next year.
Yeah.
In terms of picking up something new, it's like I never really got involved with kind of the like course societies, and like I kind of always wanted to, but I just never did. So yeah, I thought I'd try and get involved with the mature medics a bit more. And even just like lockdown, it's been hard to like meet new people. So
yeah, I think it would be good, especially as we've talked about, as a community, mature students can be quite I suppose disparate and isolated potentially, and coming from different backgrounds. So yeah, it would be great to work on different if we can get hold of everyone, potentially we can
on all these platforms.
No, so because I think there's medics netball, isn't there? So like netball, but not so like I imagine uni netball is very competitive, very like, but I imagine the medic societies are potentially a bit more relaxed.
I think I went along to a few of their sessions in September, and it was really relaxed, just like nice chill match play. That was a really good way to meet people. And even like going back to the mature medics, like it's quite nice to just meet people who are maybe a bit more of a similar mindset potentially, and just kind of, you might have shared similar life experiences, and you kind of you've just had like a bit of a different journey to the norm, and that's kind of quite a nice way, I guess, to like potentially give you something in common. Because it can be a bit isolating when you kind of, in school everyone's applying for their A-levels, and like throughout life it's kind of like, and basically until you graduate from uni, it's like everyone's doing all these same steps at the same time as me. Like fair enough, you might have slightly different courses, but if you're applying to medicine, you probably know someone that else is, or at least everyone else is applying to go to uni. And it's kind of like, when you're applying, you're really like applying by yourself as a mature student. And then when you're there, I think it's quite easy to kind of just feel like you're, I don't know if it's kind of made like not worse, enhanced by it being all online at the moment, but it is quite easy to feel like, oh, I'm just like the only person on this course, like just plugging away by myself, so it's quite nice, I guess, a group of like-minded people.
Yeah, and I think also just, again, I think the application process is absolutely brutal. But when you feel like you're kind of the only one, and you have doubts, and then there's no one to voice that to and get back, even just the, oh yeah, I'm feeling the same, which I think just makes, the biggest difference. So, even by hopefully people hearing some of these stories, they can, I think being able to picture someone similar to you doing the same thing is so important to help you like drive for that goal. So people in their third year thinking about applying, they can see similar stories and think, yeah, okay, I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of, things always seem so glossy and like glossy on the outside. Oh, I decided, and to lots of people, to even some of my friends, most of my friends, it probably seems like, oh, she like just decided to go and do medicine, and now there she is, like how lovely, like,
Yeah.
and it is like, it's so great, but like life's not black and white, it's like multicolored, and like you just, yeah, really like are quite complex. And I think there's very few people would just be like, yes, I wanted to be a doctor from the moment I saw my stethoscope.
Yeah.
I think in reality, people, because like we're all intelligent, right? And we all kind of can weigh up the pros and cons of something, and nothing is 100%.
Yeah, I think it makes it's a good decision for so many different types of people. There's so many different paths in medicine, and whether you're a people person or you're more analytic, or you want to be in the emergency department, or you want to be behind the scenes, it suits a lot of different people. And I think having that time away from school, you can really weigh up the pros and cons, seeing it from a different perspective rather than perhaps just seeing it as this one, singular career. But it's hard if you don't have experience in that. It's how do you know until you know?
Yeah, and I definitely think like, yeah, from the outside it can seem like this one singular career, but like I don't know, like from my shadowing, I was like fortunate enough to see like all of these different bits, like even in the theatre, for example, I was speaking to the anaesthetist a lot. I was seeing like all of the other members of staff, and then the surgeon himself, obviously. I shadowed 2 surgeons. One was a female and one was a male, which are very, very good. Yeah, I've lost my train of thought again, but yeah, it can seem really singular. And I think, shadowing was kind of my first like taste of, oh no, like this can be really varied. Like you can do like loads of bits and bobs, and obviously like kind of GP, kind of vaguely what that is. Most people do. You've been to see a GP. And even like from the Bristol course, I think that the people they've kind of had speaking to us, like in first term, we had a lecture and it was about like careers, and it was lots about like portfolio careers and like what that means. And the presenter, I think she was a doctor and then left, isn't a doctor anymore. She decided that wasn't for her, and she like explained that, and I think that's quite good, because especially like I can imagine, not so much for potentially a mature student, but someone who's kind of fresh out of A levels, like just turned 18, like still quite young, they kind of might be thinking, like, again, like it's natural to have doubts, and like hearing that other people have doubts and other people kind of find their own different way is probably quite reassuring. Yeah, and even just like, I think one of our lecturers she doesn't do any direct patient contact, she does more of like research or something.
Yeah. So if you were, I suppose, to start September again, what's your top tip that you've picked up over the last few months?
I would not I'd just get a bit more involved from the start. I think I just let coronavirus like leave me in my little flat with my friends having fun. I wish I kind of branched out a bit more. Yeah, in terms of the course, I feel like you've just gotta, I've really been quite strict with like 9 to 5 mostly, sometimes like a Sunday night, you know, if there's nothing else to do. Yeah, I think that would be my only piece of advice. And just like, I think sometimes I need to remember that it's first year. Because I think, like, I don't know if it's being older, or maybe it's just because there's nothing else to do, but I like find myself doing a lot of work, and I'm like, I'm in first year, like, just enjoy this nice chill time, because it's going to get a lot harder, and it's going to be a lot more intense. Don't get burnt out now.
I think also that advice applies to, you know, now and the current situation, but just across the board. I think it's so easy to be like, especially on a course like medicine where you've got 5 years, so easy to be like, oh, I'll start the society next year, or I'll check out netball next year. It is a busy course, there is a lot to do, you're always going to be quite busy, but I think getting involved it's just so, it's so important, for balance, for meeting people, and it is really easy to put off, especially on a busy course. So just get involved. You can always tone it down if it's too much, but I think try the societies, try the sport, try the knitting, whatever society you want to be
I
part
actually
of.
did start knitting. I knitted my boyfriend's parents some Christmas presents this year. I learned how to knit, I was quite pleased with myself. I can't remember how to do it now though, because it was months ago, so I don't really know if it counts.
I think it counts. I've tried and spectacularly failed. So anything, if you've made it, any knitting product, I think is something to be celebrated.
Although giving it as a gift, I'm now like, I gave it to them and I was like, oh my god, if this unravels, it's going to be so embarrassing.
No, it's there. The moment, handing it over complete in that moment, that's whatever happens after, it's fine. No, I think that's great advice for now, and hopefully you can take that through to second year. Do some netball, get involved.
And like we're going to be like doctors, right? But we're not going to be doctors 24/7. Like we're going to have lives, and like we need to have lives to like be able to be like happy people who are good at their jobs and fulfilled in their lives. So I think that's important to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we finish up, thinking about the future, are there any specialities that you've got your eye on, that you're thinking about, or still open-minded?
This is the classic question, and I always say, oh, like and then I start listing, and I literally list like every single speciality. And I find like every week, like, because we've started doing CBL, like every cycle, at some point in the cycle, I'm like, oh, like I would love, like at the moment, I'm like, I would love to be a general surgeon. We do like embryology, and I'm like, oh my god, like this is what I want to do. So no, I mean, healthcare will always have a strong place in my heart. Just kind of, I feel quite passionate after having like worked for a year. I feel like really passionate about that. I feel like really kind of opened my eyes as to just like how like hard and lonely it can be, really. And how like you're still a person too, like if anything, you've got so much life to speak about, and it's amazing. I think also like I'll be 27 when I graduate, so I think it will be like, I'd love to do something like surgery or emergency medicine, but I think when it comes to it, it'll be kind of like a more of a decision about when do I want to settle down, and kind of what are my goals in life other than being a doctor. I think that would definitely come into it. So we'll see.
Something with less on call, maybe. Getting a bit older, can't be doing those.
I was thinking this morning, I was looking out the window and I was just thinking about doing night shifts again, and that like feeling in the I don't know, it's like in the pit of your stomach when you haven't slept all night. It's just like this awful
Yeah,
feeling, and I was like, oh god.
I quite like them. Yeah, I quite like the quietness, and it feels like you're in a space that not many people see in the middle of the night. I don't know. I think they can think if there's a hard night shift, then it can be quite challenging and isolating because there's not many people around. But the general setting, I quite like it.
No, I know it's almost like, I don't want to cozy, like I'm not like getting in bed
Yeah,
and having like a
yeah,
little cuddle,
yeah,
but like it's like a cozy, like you like get everyone a hot chocolate. Well, I don't know, when I was
yeah,
at HCA, I
yeah,
probably, maybe I'll do this when I'm a doctor. I'd like to, but get everyone like
yeah.
hot chocolate or some warm milk, and
Mm,
just shut the curtains, turn off the lights.
hmm.
Yeah, but then a bad night, you're kind of thinking, just go to sleep because
Yeah,
you're so lucky to be in bed right now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Polarizing.
yeah, but yeah, I guess it'll be a completely different ball game
Hmm.
being an on-call junior doctor, I imagine. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe less of the hot chocolates going around. Um, yeah, well, thank you so much for coming to speak to me today, Emma. It's been really great to hear your experiences, and yeah, how you're finding the course and going through the process. So yeah, thank you very much.
cool, thank you.